A former councilor of Naga City accuses VP Robredo, a brother-in-law of Vice President Leni Robredo, of allegedly behind the proliferation of illegal drugs in their town. This after President Rodrigo Duterte tagged Naga City as a hotbed of shabu. Former councilor Luis Ortega says he is disappointed that illegal drugs continue to exist in their area. According to Ortega, 13 out of the 27 villages in Naga are involved in illegal drug activities. Ortega insists that the Vice President and Naga City Mayor John Mongat are aware of these illegal activities. The ex-city councilor further says that the residents of Naga know that Mayor Mongat allows and ignores the proliferation of shabu in their city.
Hindi niya pinahuhuli yung mga drug poster, drug addict. Hindi niya pinapahuli. Hulihin man, pinalalabas nila.
Vice President Robredo and Naga City officials are yet to respond to Ortega's claim. The Makati police has filed constructive possession of illegal drugs and obstruction of justice against lawyers Leni Rocha, John Vincent Soliven, and Romulo Alarcon, who were involved in a Makati bar raid last week. The three, who legally represent the owners of the establishment, are accused of allegedly attempting to destroy the pieces of evidence when the bar was being raided. Police also stated in the affidavit of arrest that the lawyers harassed, disrespected, and intimidated the law enforcers during the conduct of the search. But the largest association of lawyers in the country expresses alarm over the said charges against the three lawyers.
Granting that to be true, kung totoo man po yun, although sa tingin po namin medyo malabo yun dahil siyempre, di ba, may uneven distribution of forces din eh. Maraming police, armado sila, may mga boses sila, mahirap po yatang ganun na sitwasyon. No? Sila ba ay lumunok ng ebidensya? There are pieces of paper no, that would have constituted evidence as to enable the police to prosecute the accused no, or the respondents in the search warrant. No? So wala po kaming nakikitang ganyang allegations.
The Commission on Human Rights and other lawyers' organizations, on the other hand, vow to look into the incident.
In other news, the International Labor Organization lauds the Republic Act number 11058, or the Occupational Safety and Health Law, that was recently signed by President Rodrigo Duterte. The organization believes the law is timely and will strengthen the workers' protection against abusive employers. Under the OSH law, workers such as linemen, factory and construction workers have the right to refuse when forced to work in imminent dangerous situations. Workers are also given the chance to let the government know their problems and concerns in their work field. The law, which will also give weight to sanctions imposed on violators of the set standards on occupational safety and health of workers in the country.
It actually defines better roles for all stakeholders, even among government agencies, for them to work together to have more coordinative measures in the event of accidents at the workplace. It actually lays down a very positive environment for preventive measures at the workplace.
And for the news abroad, here's Kath Dumaraos from Bangkok, Thailand, live. Kath, good evening.
Good evening, William. Several explosions were heard in the diplomatic district of the Afghan capital Kabul on Tuesday, but there was no immediate information on casualties. A security official said the explosions were caused by rockets fired from outside the city, and some fell near the presidential palace, around embassy compounds, and government buildings. Rockets landed at a time when President Ashraf Ghani was speaking during an Eid prayer ceremony, 2 days after he declared a conditional ceasefire with the Taliban. But the Taliban insurgents, according to two senior commanders, have rejected the 3-month ceasefire offer and vowed to continue its attacks against the government and its foreign allies. A Florida county sheriff uses a real-life ad in advising the public to never leave children inside locked cars. Here's why from Kat Carriedo.
A rescue by a Florida sheriff's deputy served as a real-life public service announcement for the dangers of leaving children in cars. Seminole County Sheriff's Office Deputy Bill Dunn noticed the child locked in the sweltering car on Father's Day this year. Dashcam footage shows Dunn rushing back to his car holding a 3-year-old girl who appears to be passed out, with a woman and another child following behind.
When I opened the car door, sadly, I didn't think that she was alive when I got to her. I felt for a pulse.
The nearest hospital. The girl was released from the hospital after 3 days when Dunn met the child whose life he saved.
It meant everything to me. I was so happy I was able to do that. Sometimes we're able to have a moment like this that makes it all worthwhile.
A study published in May found that a car can become a lethal oven in just an hour when parked in the sun. Interior temperature can reach 116 degrees, and the dashboard can exceed 165 degrees in about 1 hour. The mother has been charged criminally and is awaiting trial. Kath Carriedo, UNTV News or Rescue, USA.
Immigrants from Venezuela descend on Peru Interpol following the implementation of a newly modified deadline. Rosalie Cos tells us why.
Venezuelans entering Peru through October 31 may request a temporary permit of permanence or PTP until December 31 of this year. The decree modifies a previously existing measure put in place by former President Pedro Pablo Kuczynski, reducing the deadline for requesting a PTP by 6 months. Under Kuczynski, PTPs could be requested through June 30, 2019. Venezuelan migrants formed long lines outside of Peruvian Interpol on Monday, hoping to get the necessary documentation.
I think that from the government's point of view, they should give an extension because there are many Venezuelans, parents among them, mothers, many families who are here in Peru. And the problem lies basically in the appointment, to be able to get the Interpol appointment to make the transaction. They should continue to give opportunities for the PTP because the Venezuelan migrants do not come as tourists here. So giving them tourist status does not make sense. They would have to open it up for more time so that more Venezuelans can come and benefit from the PTP.
A PTP would allow the migrants to work and have access to health and public education. A migrant rejected for the PTP must leave Peru within 30 days. The change comes just days after Peru and Ecuador instituted a measure requiring all Venezuelans trying to enter the country to have a passport. More than 1 million Venezuelan migrants have entered Colombia over the last 15 months, according to official estimates. But Ecuador, Peru, and Brazil have also received many. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue.
Queues of people are growing across India's Kerala state after its worst flood in a century begins to subside. Meanwhile, Turkey files a complaint against Washington's additional import duties on steel and aluminum products in the World Trade Organization. Here's why from Nina Bascon.
In India, the death toll in southern state of Kerala rose to nearly 400 on Monday after its worst flood in a century, as water began receding and aid started filtering through to people sheltered in camps. Growing queues of people waiting for petrol, medicine, and food were seen across the state, where 1.2 million people are residing in relief camps and dozens are still missing. Those able to return home face a big cleanup. Aid groups spread out across the state has so far received just a third of the immediate assistance of 20 billion rupees or $285 million it sought from the federal government. In Turkey, a complaint has been filed against Washington's additional import duties on its steel and aluminum products in the World Trade Organization Monday, asking for a consultation. Turkey claims that the White House's actions are inconsistent with a number of provisions of the WTO's Agreement on Safeguard and the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, or GATT 1994. The United States imposed tariffs on Turkish steel and aluminum products due to imprisonment of the American pastor Andrew Brunson, who was charged with espionage and terrorism in Turkey. U.S. President Donald Trump authorized on August 10 the doubling of tariffs on steel and aluminum products from Turkey to 50% and 20% respectively. And in Australia, Australian Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull has appealed for unity after surviving a challenge to his leadership from a senior government colleague. Turnbull had called a surprise vote in a bid to resolve speculation that his leadership was under threat. In a party room ballot in Canberra on Tuesday, he defeated Home Affairs Minister Peter Dutton after winning 48-35 votes, according to the Liberal Party MPS. Nina Bascon, UNTV News and Rescue.
And those are the news from the other parts of the globe. Back to you, William.
Thank you very much, Kath Dumaraos, live from Bangkok, Thailand. Asian Games ticket holders and athletes are complaining about being late to events amid the ongoing biggest multi-sport extravaganza outside the Olympics in Indonesia. Asher Kadapan Jr. tells us why.
The inner streets of the Gelora Bung Karno Stadium in Indonesia's capital, Jakarta, are brimming with complaints from Asian Games ticket holders and athletes, most of which are directed towards the transportation system. Regular city buses are being used for the commute from one venue to another at the 18th Asian Games being held in the country, as only select people are permitted to drive personal vehicles in the area. According to Taufik Sigar, they're lacking signs for ticket boxes and venues. People end up looking everywhere. Transportation between venues within the stadium itself is lacking because they can't bring their own vehicles, so they're wasting time going to venues. But some athletes say they have had to wait to fit onto a bus despite having booked their spot online. And some spectators say they have ended up arriving 30 minutes after the start of an event because of the queues at the bus stops. According to Muhammad Dani Buldansha, there are numerous shortcomings, of course, but they've overcome them. The biggest problem was, of course, the rising crowd numbers on Sunday. So the buses that they'd prepared for every 15 minutes took longer, and people had to wait for 20 to 25 minutes. That is why people are complaining. They understand and they apologize, and they do hope that starting today, they've sorted everything out. Indonesia's preparations received a thumbs up from the Olympic Council of Asia in January. 1,000 athletes from 45 national Olympic committees are competing in 40 sports and 67 disciplines in the biggest multi-sport extravaganza outside the Olympics, with a schedule including new events ranging from bridge to roller skating. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue.
A museum curator opens a Candytopia pop-up in New York, taking inspiration from Willy Wonka's magical sugar-filled factory. Let's find out from this report.
New York's pop-up Candytopia delights candy fans with colorful and dreamy displays of all things sweet. Candytopia is sensory overload, said the museum's curator Jackie Sorkin.
So when you come in, I want touch, taste, sound, sight. I want you to feel almost like, what is this? And then the candy on top of it, you're gonna have a sugar high. So yeah, it's taking us back to the fact that we're all kids at heart.
Sorkin was inspired by Willy Wonka and his magical sugar-filled factory. Candytopia has more than a dozen Instagrammable rooms filled with kids diving into a pool filled with fake marshmallows, artworks, cars, and sharks made entirely out of candy. Guests will also be treated to samples ranging from sours to gummies and chocolates.
Why wouldn't you come? It's fantastic. You'd have to be a jerk not to like this, right? You really would. Like, who wouldn't like this?
I think Candytopia is awesome. I wasn't expecting to be so into it, but I think it's something that adults and kids will enjoy together.
The exhibit, which started in Los Angeles last year, is open through November 15. Abby Valdez, UNTV News and Rescue, USA.
And those are the reasons behind the news. August 21st, 2018, on behalf of Rheena, Villamor-Camara, and Angelo Castro III, I am William Thio. Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Good evening.